April 14th today. We're back here to do some inspections and some bee work. At another yard, we were checking some of the double deeps that we had reversed and checkerboarded 10 days ago. And we were seeing frames of resources on the outside edges of the top box, and then in the middle of the top deep, we were seeing like 5 frames of open brood and eggs, which means these bees are about to really take off and have quite a bit of brood in them. Also looking at it, next week's going to be very busy, so to try to get ahead of some of our work this week while we have some time, plan to go through and add a super on top of the stronger double deeps that we overwintered to give them some more space above the brood nest, to give the nurse bees something to do, cleaning that up and starting to draw out the rest of the foundations that we have in those honey supers. Just otherwise try to curb the swarming, try to invest our time this week so we have less work to do next week when it's so busy adding seconds to our nucs that we just bumped up to deeps last week. Anyway, come along, we'll see what we find, see if we need to put any supers on. Alright, this is the first colony I'm going into. I'll see what we see here. The patty's completely used up, which isn't surprising. It's a pretty nice day today. We're having unseasonably warm weather. It's in the upper 80s today, actually. Just first off, looking down these frames, I can see some fresh drawn comb. This colony would have had these 2 frames. You see the lighter colored ones would have been undrawn, foundationless frames that we gave them, I think 10 days ago we were here, somewhere in that range. And we reversed the boxes at that time too. Right, so this frame on the outside edge, it's also worth noting that all of these frames were completely empty when we gave them. Dry, drawn combs, aside from these 2 frames in the middle, which are frames that we brought up from the brood nest to help encourage them to come up in this box. So that edge frame there was, one side was fully nectar, the other side was fully pollen. Okay, so you have some capped drones here, capped drones there. Surrounding that drone larva there, or capped drone brood, every cell was laid full or had young larvae in it. Capped worker brood, capped worker brood. Actually have some pretty well developed queen cups down here. Take a look at those. Dry, dry. Right, now this would have been the frame, a completely undrawn foundationless frame. They drew drone comb there. And it's all completely laid full. Some worker brood at the top there where they started. Worker brood. More pretty well developed queen cups. All of those are also dry. Worker brood that's all laid full again. More very well developed queen cups. All of them dry. Perfectly natural for them to start these right now. It's that time of year, you can hardly blame them. This would be the other frame that was completely undrawn when we gave it. Workers and drones again. It's all brood. Whole box of brood here. Capped drones and workers. That's a frame of eggs there. Maybe half covered. This half of the frame is open yet. And I got nectar and nectar. Wow. There is no open space in this box. There's almost no empty cells. It's no wonder they're starting to draw swarm cells, or queen cups that could become swarm cells. Close this back up. This one absolutely needs a super. Honestly, it probably needs pulled out of. Next week we'd be planning to equalize this with other colonies, and that might be about on time till all that stuff gets capped. I don't think they're going anywhere this week, but they are a vibrant colony. They are going to get a super. We'll do that now. We'll give them the super here. This is, for the most part, 50-50s that we're giving. We're trying to use up all of our comb. Rather than keep it, we'd rather get it on a colony, have them have access to it if a flow comes in. No sense having it in the barn. So this is about a 50-50 box. It'll give them something to clean up, and the frames that aren't drawn, they can start to continue to draw with all those nurse bees that they have coming. So that's all we're going to do for this one for today. Alright, after going through the rest of the overwintered double deeps here, this one that we looked through together, it's about part of half of the yard that has moved up into the top box nicely and has it completely laid full. Seems like that's boxes where the queen moved up into it immediately after we put it on. And so it's laid full. It's really full, and she's out of space. Then the other half of the yard, the queen is still in the bottom box and just starting to get up into the bottom of the top box. And they have a little bit of time yet. The issue is the ones like we just went through together, they don't have space above them to grow. So these supers are none too early for them. They almost could have had them earlier. I think what happened is those 5 frames of brood that we had in these double deeps when we swapped them or reversed the boxes 10 days ago has now emerged, and those 5 frames of brood each turned into 3 frames of bees, and we have 15 extra frames of bees in here. Wow, imagine that. It's basic bee math. The boxes are full. So they're certainly going to need more management. They aren't going to make it to the honey flow like this without swarming. So we will need to be pulling splits out of these sooner rather than later. Let's go through one of the nucs that we would have just bumped up into a deep a week ago and see what they're looking like. At our other yard, what we were seeing in these nucs that we bumped up was maybe 2 frames of open comb on the outside edges yet, and the rest completely laid full. So I guess we'll see what we see here. Looking down over this, it's going to be hard for you to see, but there's about 8 or 9 frames of bees in here. Not packed, but it's certainly quite full. So let's go through this frame by frame and see what we see. What I'm curious to see is if those queens have moved past the resource frames that were the edge of the nest and have started laying on the other side of it. So nothing going on in that. That's dry comb. That's got a little bit of honey in it, but I'm guessing that was given to them in that frame. Doesn't look like it was this year's honey. That is this year's honey. Wow. These girls are packing it on. Right, this would have been the edge frame that we've moved over from the nuc. That's pollen. Go ahead and pull that one out. Probably going to do some manipulations while I'm here. No reason not to since I'm in it anyway. Help her expand that nest a little bit. Cap brood. Both sides, so that's 1 frame of brood. 2 frames of brood. There was the queen. Three frames of brood. This would be the other edge of her brood nest now. 4 frames of brood. So they've definitely grown significantly already, as bees do in the spring. This is the other side of the edge of her brood nest. And it's untouched. Alright. And frame 10, which is likely going to be dry. That's resources already. Alright. So 4 frames of cap brood, not a lot of open brood. While I'm in here, I'm going to checkerboard this colony a little bit harder. Seems like maybe we should have, although it was cold the same night that we bumped them up, so we kind of did what we had to. So I'm going to put this edge frame in the edge of her brood nest over there, and I'm going to take this resource frame that was, I think, position 4 and the edge of her nest, and it's pollen and empty on the one side. We'll put that as the new edge. So that should help them take control of this box, spread out a little more, give her a little more room to lay, because it does look like she's at least not laying at full potential anymore. So this colony probably could use a second pretty much immediately. We're thinking about doing it in a week, at which point I'd expect to see maybe 2 more frames of cat brood in there. So I think we're just on time. If anything, maybe a little behind. Welcome to beekeeping, you're never ahead. But yeah, they look great. Just as another data point, let's go through this colony together. It looks quite a bit weaker. It's another one I just chose at random. See what this one looks like. So the edge frame has a little bit of nectar in it. Frame 2 has nectar and pollen. Frame 3 has lots of pollen, and they've polished these cells up. So a ton of pollen there. That's the edge of the brood nest. Okay, then we're going to start counting frames of brood here. 1, 2, 3. This is open brood. I count that as 3. It's all completely laid full. There's 4. All sorts of pollen at the edge of the nest. I don't know if you can see that on the video. Pollen all rimming this nest. Not a lot of honey. It seems that's their limiting factor right now. So 4 frames of brood. Well, there's a frame of honey. So forget what I said. That is empty space. And so is the edge frame. So again, while I'm here, we're going to do some checkerboarding. May as well give them space. No sense in not doing it. So this frame of honey is now going to become the edge frame. Take the open frame, put it in the middle. Take the other open frame. Actually, we're going to spread this out a little bit even more. This colony has lots of bees on the way, 4 frames of them. They have plenty of strength to manage this manipulation. And also on the other side, I'm going to do, these are 2 frames of pollen, a little bit of open space on one of them, but not much. We're going to checkerboard in that outside frame as well. I take that back, that's drone comb. I don't really want that in the middle of the nest right now. They won't use it. So I might instead put the emptier one of these in the middle. That would be this one. Put that right at the edge of the nest so she can start laying there too. Got to keep them moving forward or they're going to up and leave. So got to be Johnny on the spot with this. She's not completely plugged out yet. Another week will be fine, and that's when we're going to be adding seconds. And if we find any swarming, we can handle it then. It's not like we're going to lose them. But so far, so great this year.